Hello. Happy Monday. Happy August 9th, 2021. We are in the new moon phase. How exciting. Exciting day yesterday. New moon. The sun's in Leo, the moon's in Leo. I pulled the Leo card yesterday, not a surprise, from my tarot deck. I'm going to pull one today for us as usual. But first, hello. Hello, Megan and Dahlia and Jessica and Jill. And I'm sure many more people will be getting on here. At least I hope. I really would love if this became a more well-attended thing. It makes it more fun. And it's such a cool other thing to do, as opposed to the podcasts. I think this feels just different and fun. So here's the view of my beautiful backyard, or at least part of it right now. It is raining. We've had a really cozy thunderstorm late this morning into the afternoon, and we are all enjoying it so much because we're used to constant sunshine. So I woke up to sunshine. I actually did a workout this morning on our property. I ran the huge hill that is our front yard a couple of times and did a bunch of other stuff at the top of the hill. It was a pretty good workout, and it was hot. It was hot and humid. And then I took the kids out for a little bit and just have been, home doing stuff. And this fun thunderstorm thing came, and you can hear the rain. You probably can't, but there's lightning happening. So hopefully my internet stays good. But yeah, it's been kind of a hodgepodge of a day, not too much of a midwifery day quite yet, being new here still. I my office after this and have a couple of things, but I was able to spend the morning at home, which is great. I love being home. I'm totally a Cancer when it comes to that. And our new house is just like so cozy and comfortable. So we're all really enjoying it so much. So yes, happy everything. Happy Monday, happy new moon. I feel like there's so many things right now on my mind that I'd love to share, but we'll see what comes out. And I'd love your comments and questions as always. And if you haven't said hello, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see where you're listening or watching from. That's always fun. And I'd love for you to share this event too, just with your other birthy friends maybe, or I don't know, people that want to be midwives or anybody that wants to hang out for a little bit of a chat. So I'm shuffling my cards. I'm still working with that same deck that I used last week. Last week was our first week back after a summer hiatus. And so I guess the deck is still very new to me, and definitely it must be to you if you've only seen me use it here. So my cards are all like cattywampus here, as my college professor used to say. So kind of getting them in order, and let's see what gets pulled for today. Ooh, I don't know if you can hear that thunder. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what's on the agenda today. If people have things they want to talk about or hear about, that would be helpful. Otherwise, I'm sure I have stuff. I see, yeah, Megan said she's finished listening to the last podcast Nathan and I did. I think it was episode 11. The one about the midwife and the OB, episode 11. We made it to 11 episodes. How cool. And yeah, it was just a really brief chat, like really brief on the gifting model, and more to come on that. So I have more to share about that and more thoughts. And, that really could probably be a couple of hours of a topic. We also have a gift course, a mini course on the gift model that is available just as a gift to people. We haven't really announced it yet. but you can always email me or get me on the social if you're interested in checking that out and just learning with us as we kind of try to emulate this model as best we can at Indie Birth with some of our offerings, and then individually here locally is something I'm trying out, is just offering the gift model for midwifery services. And I've had some really big thoughts about that come in, and my daughter is smirking at me through the window. We have this cute little sunroom here, and then the kitchen is like kind of in front of me. So she was smirking at me. Hello, Olivia. I've been meaning to text you, so we have to get in touch, you and I. Yeah, the background is amazing. That little, it's like a little barn kind of place that could be refinished for visitors, like a little guest house. So that's on the plans, and maybe that'll be for birth, or maybe that will just be for family and friends. It wouldn't hold more than 2 people, and that would be nice and comfortable. There's a little loft in there. I know it looks tiny from the view you're getting, but it's actually pretty sizable. But it's just plywood right now. So it's plywood. It does have windows, but it would make a really awesome guest space. Yeah, I do want to talk more about the retreat center, as always. I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we brainstorm it, the more we put out these ideas and feelings we have around it, the more likely we are to attract it in, right? So I think that's definitely helpful. So thank you, Dahlia. All right, I always shuffle these cards for so long because it's like, I feel like I'm juggling, like I'm doing 10 things at once or something, and I'm not. It's just they're all messed up, you know? They're all backwards and upside down, and I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily take it to mean an entirely different thing when I pull the card upside down. And truthfully, that's because my knowledge with this deck is not so great yet. So I really am just focusing on what she calls in the book the light meaning, the light worker meaning. And then if you were to pull the card upside down, you could technically interpret it as the shadow meaning, which basically just has sort of the opposite meaning. But I'm not feeling that yet with this deck. So it's bothering me that some of them are upside down, even though I could easily just turn them around. Okay, let's see. Deep breath, everyone. Coming back into our bodies, if we have left. Just feeling what we've got going on inside of ourselves today. Feeling excitement for this new moon, this new phase. Definitely feeling lots of anticipation just around, I don't know, what's next kind of in the world and for me, and you might be feeling that way too. Lots of heightened awareness right now, right, as to the state of things. So just settling into our bodies, we can acknowledge that we're feeling those things and we don't need them to go or change, but also just finding that place of grounded balance right now. You know, just finding that place that knows, that's solid, that is quiet. And from that place, that's where I like to do my best to pull a card from that place, you know, rather than feeling scattered. Cool. Well, I'll show you what I picked. 4 of Swords. So that's kind of funny for today because that's how I'm feeling today with all the rain and the darkness, like just like curling up, you know, and resting. Of course, I haven't done that, but that's the feeling that I get on this day. She looks pretty cozy. And so swords are fire, yeah? The fire element. The number 4. I recently learned that's my life path number. My daughter was doing all that yesterday, so I'm a 4 life path. I'm also a 4 Enneagram, so who knows what that means. And you can see she has this like little connects some of the swords with this pretty heart. And I don't know, it looks kind of to me like the string has some lights on it. So I don't know. I'll look into what this means, but just intuitively, definitely looks restful. It looks cozy and protected and peaceful. The heart, being outside of her body, but on lights. Holy moly. That's a very loud thunder. Showing your heart to the world, maybe like leading with your heart. She does have like a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of like a diamond shape. And then you see those four lights. So I don't know. You can make your own reading. You can intuit what that might mean for you today. I've been feeling more comfortable with this deck in particular, just doing that. I think we kind of did that together last week when I pulled a card at the end. And it had a meaning that for me just didn't feel right. And my own intuitive meaning felt better. And so this week, that's kind of been the theme of like, nope. I mean, it could mean that. And I could totally see why when you write a book on the deck of cards you made, right, you would come up with that. But most important is just our own feelings and whatever the imagery teaches us. And that's how we learn a deck, And then, of course, it's like any art process. You could pull that card for someone, perhaps, right? And it could feel like it means something completely different that day for that person. Yeah, I love that, Jill. I'm feeling that more and more, And I think that's why I was intimidated by tarot for a while. I didn't realize that. And I thought, there's like one way to read the card, or like there's a right way with 9 of Swords or whatever it is. But no, there's really not. And the interpretations that are provided are helpful, but not the be all and end all. So what did I say? No, Swords. So I was wrong. Swords is air. So communication, I mixed it up. Yeah, I mixed it up with wands. So wands are fire. So don't listen to what I said earlier. That's kind of a more right and wrong thing, I think. So wrong element for me today. But in any case, what is the meaning of this? Okay, so that card I just picked. A time of deep rest, transmutation of shadow, healing from burnout, self-love, and all of that. So yeah, definitely feeling that today. And about the nest, she's kind of in the nest there. So your nest will grow around you as you sleep, and the landscape of your life will shift beautifully as you fall into your own rejuvenating energy. But first, you must rest. Yeah, well, I definitely need it. Not sure that I'm getting that in the ways that I really need right now with a 9-month-old baby, but I totally feel it. So the mantra at the end is, I give myself permission to slow down and heal. Yeah. But the slowness, that totally came in for me yesterday. I sent out a newsletter. Maybe you're on our newsletter. I hope you are. I send out like a Sunday journal thing that I just spontaneously write. And yesterday with the new moon and the Lionsgate portal, it was 8/8. The invitation, from lots of sources, and I feel like just generally at times like that, is to set an intention, especially around the new moon. So somebody asked me this morning by email, like, how do you set an intention? And I thought, wow, that's a cool question, because I didn't say how. I assume people would know, but it was an honest question. So how do you set an intention? And there's many ways, I'm sure. So my way, and this is what I email back to this person, is to be in a quiet state, to be somewhat rested, to be in that little nest. And from that place, just like the place where I like to pick a card from, that's that same place where I get to hear what is needed. So an intention to me is less about like, I want this thing to happen. Like, yes, you can have intentions around manifestation, but also just the intention for your own soul, for just being. And for me yesterday, when I sat with what is my intention for this new moon, it was just to be. It wasn't to do, it wasn't to act, it wasn't to manifest. It was simply to be present. So in that way, this card is really, really perfect. When you're resting, right? When you're in your nest, that's kind of what you're doing. You're not thinking about, hopefully, if you're really resting, you're not thinking about what you're going to do later or tomorrow. You are present in that moment of rest. So take it for what you will. If that feels resonant to you, run with it. If it doesn't, who knows? Maybe it really wasn't for you today, but that's feeling pretty good to me. So thanks for joining me on that poll. And yeah, good to know I'm not alone, Ricky. I am still, always learning, always learning. And yeah, for some reason, always mix that up. Although with this deck, it's kind of silly that I do, because the, the fire element is usually actually depicted as fire on the card. So anyway, air, brain. Not feeling like I have a million brain cells lately with a baby that's not sleeping. So anyway, not to drone on about that. To move on to some birthy topics. Where are you, Alexa? This mask thing is out of control, and this might get me removed from YouTube, but whatever. I'm willing to take that risk. Yeah, I think we're all sort of poised in a sense to feel what's next, to see what's next. And, I think someone said on our social this morning, and I can't remember who, so I'm sorry, but, we stay in this place of like hopefulness and like positivity and gratitude, but sometimes a little bit of your brain kind of wants to head off in that direction of like, what is happening? What does this mean? And I don't have the answers. I don't even really know all that's happening. I try my very hardest to not participate in any of the media, and really even social media. I'm not interested in that. But out and about, yeah, you can notice some of the changes locally. And of course, it's a crossing of fingers, I think, manifest the world we want to live in. I think there's a lot of active participation, but it's also this feeling of watching it happen, right? And wondering, what is there to do? And I don't quite know. I don't know what there is to do yet, or what you should do, or what I should do, other than sticking to following our truth. And who cares if you're the weirdo? I haven't worn a mask once, and I won't ever do it. So if that means I can't go places, then I guess I won't go there. It's just not something I'm willing to compromise on. And it's not just physical. Someone else on our social yesterday, and this is very odd. If you're not on our social, and now maybe you don't know if you want to be, it's a very odd person that would say something like masks are harmless. Just don't say that on our social. I mean, you can, but you're not going to be met with like high fives. That's all. It's not harmless is, a way of looking at this whole thing purely from the physical, which you're welcome to do. But here at Indie Birth, for as long as we've been around, birth is not just physical. Life is not just physical. Yes, we're in bodies, but we're not just bodies. We're emotional, and we're connected, hopefully, to something else, whatever that is for you. So I take it that far. It's not just a piece of fabric. It's an influence on our way of living. It's an influence on our freedom. And I won't go on past this, but it's not the kind of world that I want my kids to witness growing up if I have any say over it. Now, I don't have a say over what other people want to do, but I certainly do over myself. And I would never, never want my child to see me in a mask. That's absolutely horrifying. And I won't do it. So there, that's how I feel. And yeah, being pregnant, I was pregnant as well last year at this time, or, yeah, I mean, the whole last phase, I was pregnant, so I get it. And I felt even more like a mother lion. There was absolutely no way I was compromising. I mean, I'm still not, but when I had a baby inside of my body, there was no way. And the energy around me when I went anywhere was that fierce. And I didn't have any problems. I did what I wanted. I went where I wanted. If I knew ahead of time that I really, wasn't going to appreciate the energy in a certain place, I just wouldn't go. So I think there's that too, just being in your own field, being who you are. And then we all have to make our choices. So anyway, end of soapbox there. I don't really want to talk about that at all anymore because it's just the same old thing. And it's even more stupid than it was last time. So I don't know what else to say. Whew. So deep breath for me, for you after that, gets you riled up, right? Gets me riled up. Okay, so let's move into some birthy topics. If people have stuff or questions, please ask because I don't really know what's going to come out. I did have to repack my birth bag the other day. And so to most groups of people, that would be an insanely boring thing to talk about. But I have a feeling here people are somewhat interested. And it's been a really long time, actually, for me that I kind of went through it and unpacked stuff because I've been off call for the last 6 months. So after Roomie was born last November, I had a bunch of births in December. So I brought my 5-week-old baby around to a whole lot of births. And, I had everything packed and everything I had needed or wanted was there. So it's been 6 months now. And I just didn't even really have a memory of what was in my bag. If I had been really organized today, I could have shown you, although it's probably hard to do here. I just have one bag, really. It's kind of a cute suitcase, kind of a medium size, not super tiny. And it's not like a gigantic suitcase. It's just medium bear suitcase. And yeah, it was actually kind of fun. I was dreading it in a sense. It was just on my chore list. You know how that goes. And I'm on call, actively on call. So the fact that I waited this long is even kind of interesting, really. I also just trust I'll have what I need because it's not like it's an empty bag. But it took me till yesterday to get everything out and inventory. So I wrote down everything I had. And then as I was doing that, I wrote down everything I had to either throw out because it was old or, ideas that came in of things I wanted to order. And then immediately went to my computer and ordered the stuff. And I don't do that very often. I'm actually not much of a birth junkie when it comes to supplies. Back when I was a musician, I loved ordering stuff. It was so fun to get the supplies. And I played the oboe and I made oboe reeds. So it was fun. And I've never felt that way about birth stuff. I don't know why. Do you guys think it's fun? Are birth supplies fun? I don't know. They're not so fun to me, but you got to have what you got to have in there. So my list was fairly short. One thing that I threw out for sure was a neonatal mask, for the bag and mask, which, you hope you never need. And even when babies have needed resuscitation, I haven't used it. I've had the mom resuscitate her baby. So I haven't used, and I need to seriously knock on some wood here. I did. I knocked on wood. I haven't needed a bag and mask in a really, 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 really long time. But of course, I still want to have one that's functioning. And the mask had, not surprisingly, gotten kind of deformed and probably melted in my car in Arizona. So good to note, threw out the old mask, ordered a new one. I had some herbal concoctions in there that had leaked. Another bad thing about keeping your stuff in a hot car. And I got lazy about that in Arizona. So I don't think that will be as much of an issue here, but some of the herbal stuff was just not in good shape, and I had to clean up a mess. So I ordered more Angelica. So that's for placentas releasing. And I like to have a couple of herbs on hand for placenta stuff should we need them. So cotton root bark, motherwort, Angelica, and witch hazel. Those are my 4 must. And I will combine those if needed in an herbal if somebody shows signs of needing them. That's all. And so I was out of Angelica. And I had plenty of the other stuff. So I don't know how I got out of Angelica, but ordered that. What else did I order? Oh, I needed a new stethoscope. I got rid of my stethoscope and my cuff in Arizona because it was malfunctioning. And thus far here, I had been using the newborn stethoscope to do blood pressures, which is fine, but I'd rather I have a newborn stethoscope for newborns. And now I'll be getting a nicer stethoscope for blood pressures. I ordered another cord scissors. So I like the idea of having a couple, and I've only had one all of these years. I'm kind of a minimalist. I think I am. Although some of you might be more minimalist than I am. And a lot of midwives are not minimalists. And I've always just felt more attuned to not having a whole lot of stuff that I don't need. So even when it came down to things like cord scissors, in my mind for so long, for 15 years, I was like, one pair is fine, How often do you go from birth to birth? And if you did, big deal. But I don't know. I guess I was in a splurgy mood while I was ordering. So I thought, why not have 2 pairs of cord scissors? If I lose one, then I don't have to do this again. So not a very exciting order. I'm trying to think if there was anything else on there. I don't think so. I mean, everything else I have, everything was in good shape. And again, I'm pretty minimal anyway. So I do like herbs. I have some flower essences. I have essential oils, gloves, gauze, cord clamps, yeah, kind of boring stuff. So the hope is that the box arrives with the new stuff sometime before this birth that is due to happen probably in the next, I don't know, who knows, right? In the next week or 2. And it's 3:33. That's Roomies time. That's a very special time. And it's funny that I'm talking about this birth and this time because this woman, this new client of mine, and I have been, noting all of the fun numerology we have together. And often when we're talking or texting, it'll be 3:33. So no surprise, I guess, that would happen as I'm talking about that. But yeah, super looking forward actually to a birth. The on-call thing I've hinted at is not my favorite, but it just comes with the territory. So my car is full of gas, and that's another thing I procrastinate on. In my mind, I'm like, well, I'll be able to get there. And my husband's always the one. What if you break down? That kind of thing. He's not wrong. I'm just not an over planner with some stuff. But it's not over planning to have gas in your car, I realize. So I did get some gas. I'm all gassed up. And yeah, I think I've got everything else I need. I didn't pack my personal bag of stuff yet. I'll probably have plenty of time to do that. So by that, I mean just the clothes that I want to bring, extra clothes, toiletry items, maybe some snacks. And Roomie, I don't really know what Roomie is going to do yet. And that is something that is giving me a tiny bit of anxiety, but I can't overplan it. I don't know. I don't know if he'll come. I don't know if he'll stay. I don't know if he'll do both. I have been trying to eke out some breast milk lately to freeze for him. And that's a whole other story. But he doesn't really eat food. So I have to make sure he has something in the event that I do leave him for a small amount of time or whatever. And that's just the unknown. That's the unknown of mothering while being a midwife. And I've always brought babies with me, but he's getting a little old for that, even though he doesn't eat. So I'm kind of in a hard place, and I've never been in exactly this place with any of the other kids of mine because they've all eaten really well by now. So he's crawling, which kind of makes him hard to bring to a birth, but he's not really eating. Although he did eat a piece of squash the other day. So I have some squash frozen for him. I have breast milk. And hopefully I have another week or two before this even goes down. And maybe by then he'll be eating, I'm just hoping. But I know it'll work out. It's just not something the brain really can plan. And it's not something that brings a lot of, it's not something you feel really comfortable with. Just because you can't really until you have done it and it's over. And then you're like, oh, that worked out fine. But anticipating it is a little stressful. So I'll keep you all posted on those developments. Any questions or comments would be helpful. I don't know that I have any more birth bag stuff. I don't think so. Yeah. Ricky, you always have the best topics. I mean, many of you do. You all, people that show up here always are like right on with kind of what I'm feeling, thinking too, it seems. But yeah, that's such a great topic. And that's something that I have been pushing and pulling with for 15 years. So I don't know that that's going to make you feel better, because maybe you want me to say like, oh, by this point, whatever happens, happens. But there's so much to communicate to a first-time mom about birth. And there's so much that she herself hasn't experienced, doesn't know, has no idea about, has no idea how it will go for her, that it's easy to feel totally overwhelmed. And I won't lie, I often do, but more than ever, and this was part of me taking a break actually, is more than ever coming back to midwifery now after 6 months with clearer boundaries, clearer places where my responsibility stops. And so I think of it like that, Ricky. Like, there are things that I want to impart to the best of my ability. Not to mention we have 13 moons, we have a billion podcasts. So there's so much that people can just go do, right? They don't need you to teach them. Like, if they're curious and they want to have an awesome birth, then they take that responsibility. And then with the unknown of a first birth, the unknown of like what might come up for her. I mean, these are the things I find myself thinking about, emotional stuff, spiritual stuff, past history, what will appear. It's like labor sometimes for some women, and you never know who, can be like the dark night of the soul, right? It's like an initiation. And I think it's more likely with first-time moms. So what are we going to be holding space for is the question. But the answer is, you never know. And resisting the temptation to guess, while at the same time using your experience to be aware of what could come up, is a really delicate balance. So, something that's humbling, I think, and has been for me and continues to be, is to release the expectations around her birth, her first birth, right? Because there's that ego part of us that like, we want it to go well, you know, rah, rah. Like we want her to have this baby at home. We want this to like change her life. We want it. We want it for her. You know, we want it for us, to be honest, because that's part of this work sometimes is like, we feel like we can pass the baton. Like, here, you're powerful. Go run with it, you know, and it feels really good to see women run with it. But releasing any expectation around that is what I keep coming back to. I'm there to hold the space. I'm there with the responsibilities that I've outlined for myself and I've talked about with her. I'm not there to do it. And I think that is something that comes up with every single first-time mom in a prenatal, you know, in the prenatal period. And so most recently it did. You know, we talk about what are the responsibilities during birth? What are mine? What does she think mine are? What do I think mine are? What are hers? What do I think they are? What does she think they are? And every time, almost every time, almost, with a first-time mom, when asked about what her, you know, job, quote unquote, is during the birth, fails to mention that she is the only one that can have the baby. So I'm always the one that's like, that's great. Your responsibilities are, you know, to feed yourself and to nourish yourself and all of these beautiful things. But at the end of this or whatever, at like the pinnacle of this initiation, you are the one to do this. There is absolutely no one else that can birth this baby for you. And I say it just like that. I say, we'll love you, we'll support you, but you are the one that will do this. You are the only one that can do this. So I think that's something to remember. No matter how worked up we get about what it might be, we'll be surprised in one way or another. You know, we just can't really predict someone's experience. We can be ready for the different variations, but in the end, she has to choose to do it. She has to choose to do it. And again, maybe that sounds harsh in some ways, but over the years, I've found that for me, it's not. I need to say that and I need it out there. And that has really, I think, helped with attracting women that don't want someone else to do it for them. I mean, I can remember births, and I'm talking 15 years ago, before I was unlicensed. I was working more as like a mainstream kind of midwife. I can remember a handful of births where, and it usually first-time moms, but not always. I can think of one fourth-time mom, kind of like a pull the baby out of me. And okay, right, birth is intense. Like sometimes we say things and we don't really mean them. We mean, this is big, you know, witness me. But with some of these women, it was more of a legitimate, like, you do it. Like at the 11th hour when things got hard, they thought maybe that was my job. And so I've gone to great pains to very clearly state that I will do no such thing. And I can do no such thing. So that takes the pressure off. You know, I can only do what I can do. And at the end of the day, it's not my birth. So it is so much, but ask yourself, and I'm only saying this because I've asked myself this a million times and I continue to ask myself, what are your responsibilities as a midwife? What are your responsibilities as a doula? And get really honest with yourself, because if you think that you do have a part, in a sense, in this great outcome, then it's humbling to step back and be like, no, I mean, I don't. Like, I can be a really awesome support and, you know, I know what I'm doing and I have experience, blah, blah, blah. But like, I am not responsible for this outcome, whether it be fantastic or not fantastic. And that's something I think we have to continually do for ourselves, because we just don't live in a world where, you know, boundaries are respected. People kind of put finite, or as finite as possible, you know, a finite capacity to their ability to help someone. So I do that all the time. I have to remind myself when I hear my mind running and I'm like worrying about someone and what will happen, bring it back. What are my responsibilities as the midwife? My responsibilities are to hold space, to say if I think something's up, to offer clinical support, to offer emotional support, offer spiritual support, but I can't make it or break it. I can't make it or break it. That's not my responsibility. So anyway. Oh yeah, so many good topics today, and not enough time. Not enough time for all of them. But I love the conversation, and we can revisit some of this at other Midwife Mondays. You might have to tell me again because I don't keep them all in my head. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, we can talk more, or let me know if that's helpful, or what your experiences are, Ricky, as you kind of get clearer with yourself on some of those questions. Because I do think it's important for our own well-being, right? And that's what causes burnout too, is taking too much responsibility, worrying about people kind of outside of what is ours to worry about. But, and I get it, I do it, and that's something I'm working on because we care and we want the best for people. But yeah, it's a great question. It's a great topic. Hello from Minnesota. Yeah. Oh man, what to say next? Well, I don't know. I don't know what I have time for here in the last 10 minutes. I have to get myself down to my office in about 15 minutes, which luckily is very close. There are definitely struggles to doing this work and having kids. But yeah, the feeling maxed out is part of the gift model conversation, funny enough, I think. And this is something I've been pondering, so I don't have the answers for you, Alexa, or for anyone. But this idea of giving and receiving, and I'll be honest, giving, like to clients, to mothers, I see that. I see that I'm doing that. And then to my children, I'm also giving all of the time. And I think I don't always see that. And I think just in our culture, mothering isn't really seen as a give, right? Because we're expected to do it and we might love to do it. But at the end of the day, you're giving. You're giving all day long. So my question for myself has been, and you may or may not find this helpful, Alexa, is just intending to receive. I think a lot of us are really good at giving as mothers, and we're not so great at receiving. We don't even know when something is coming our way that we can open into to receive because it feels so weird. There's some like bug crawling at me here. And also something I've been wondering for myself is maybe I'm not opening to all the ways the universe is giving back and all of the ways that I can receive. So I don't know if that makes sense. Like we have our kids and our family, and if we expect to get back from them, like concretely from them, so, from my 7-year-old, it might not happen because she's 7, right? And those might not be realistic expectations. So, if I'm looking for a direct correlation between my giving and the receiving, it's going to feel like it's not happening. And I've been there, and, I continue to come in and out of that. Like, are my kids, are they good at giving? Can I receive? And so just today, out of nowhere, kind of, my oldest daughter made me lunch. And I sound kind of crazy saying that it made me almost cry, not because my kids never do nice things, but it was because I had specifically kind of like offered to the universe this morning, like, show me where I can receive better because I know things are coming my way, especially from my family. And good things are coming in all the time, right? But sometimes it's more of this like victim mentality around like, I give to everyone and nothing's coming back. So that was my invitation to myself this morning. How can I see more clearly what is coming for me to receive? And then I have to open up and receive it. So when she offered to make me lunch, on some days I would have been like, well, no, it's okay, whatever, just go ahead. But today I was like, that sounds amazing. Thank you. And she was a little self-conscious, like, oh, I don't know if you're going to like it. I don't know if it's going to be good. And I said, I don't care. I would love for you to make me some food. So she did. And it was the best meal I've had in like many weeks. And I said out loud, just like to anyone that was listening in my house, I said, I would love if someone would make me lunch more often, and I would receive that from any one of the kids. And so that's a very like concrete example. But I think mothering just gets so overwhelming that we forget that there's all kinds of ways that can look. So I don't know if that made any sense to anyone, but in this gift model, so you could go listen to the podcast Nathan and I did together if you're interested. I'm going to do one soon on my own podcast about this. And I was going to yesterday, but it wasn't the right time. And I don't know how else to explain it because I'm in like these infant stages of giving midwifery services as a gift to the community here. And I'm just not sure yet. I'm not sure what I'm even directly looking for other than that receiving at some point. So it's, if I'm giving midwifery services, if I'm giving my time and experience and effort as a midwife, then I firmly believe the universe will give back to me in one way or another. And so I think that's one way that if I can be in that space, Alexa, that's how we avoid burnout. Because giving is a beautiful thing. It's from our creative place. It's from our soul, hopefully. And that's a whole other conversation, right? Because you can totally give from a place of like ego or just wanting people to like, notice what a cool person you are. But it's like, no, giving because I have this in my soul to give. I have this light I want to shine. And then we have to say, I'm open to receiving. I'm open and I'm not going to shut it down and I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say, no, I don't need it. I'm going to allow it. I'm going to allow myself to receive that. And the more you receive, then the more you want to give. And ideally, that's the whole premise of this, model. It's a really fancy word for just saying, let's be human. Like, let's try and be more human together. Let's share our gifts and let's receive and return. And again, I think mothering it's at the top of my list of professions, of jobs, of callings in life that are almost always not met with a lot of giving back. So I think also if our kids are seeing us model this in the best way we can, then the energy is there. Yeah, and receiving is so tricky. And that's something with the gift model that's come up, gifting people midwifery services sounds really dreamy, right? In some ways. And then it's also really an education to witness who that's right for. For some people, it's not right. It's too much to receive and they can't accept it. So you can only give a gift when it's going to be met with being received. So it's the same thing over and over. And that's, just a little tiny sliver of what I've been turning over in my head around the gift model, around my family, around getting needs met, and feeling good about all of it, having it be balanced, because certainly that's what we're talking about. You can give and it's not in balance with receiving for whatever reason. So either you're giving to the wrong person, and that's, one of the things with the gift model. You don't necessarily give to everyone. You give to people you want to give to, and where energetically it feels like they will be grateful. And that's the point, not to get false gratefulness out of a person, but to get true happiness out of the experience and the fact that we can be mutually grateful for the relationships that we have. So the gift model is based on relationships, which is why I think it's a really tough thing to potentially do on. You know, it's a really beautiful thing to start to explore here. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that there are people here that are wanting to try it. And as I learn more, as I have more to share, I definitely will be recording some podcasts and putting it out there. I would love if it turned into something that people really, really started to resonate with. And, you know, I'm not the first. I didn't come up with this. I'm not the first. But I mean, from a birth perspective, you know, what if that's how this retreat center starts? What if this becomes the place where midwifery care is a gift and people come and they're grateful and they give back? You know, that's completely turn my vision upside down this week in the best way. That maybe it's not starting with the place and the money. It's giving freely first and seeing what it turns into. So on that note, I'm going to leave you hanging. I know that's a really weird place to end. It's also really exciting, I think, for me to think about all of that. And that's kind of how I follow the energy for myself and projects, is just what's exciting, you know, what's exciting, what feels good to think about, what feels exciting to dream about, and let it flow. All right, everybody, I thank you so much for being here live with me. It's so great to see some of you back, like you, Jill. Hey, Kim in Indiana, just down the road. Honesty, yeah, so many of you. So great to see you. Wishing you lots of love and light this beautiful week. And I'll see you here next Monday. So glad you could be here. And I'll catch you soon. Bye.